Welcome to Today of All Days, episode 19.
Would pen pals still be pals without the pens? Today is Saturday, June 10th, 2017, and today is
Ballpoint Pen Day. The ballpoint pen is the most used writing utensil with millions sold and manufactured daily. That's at least a million. It says millions from what I've read. Millions a day. That is millions of pens.
Too many pens.
My personal favorite is the Pilot V7 pen. That is hands down my favorite pen. Not sponsored. Probably never will be.
We have a lot of non-sponsorings on this show.
Yes. Right now I have some V5s.
If you're a business type and you want to do business, get yourself one of these pens, because one is all you'll need to get your business done right.
These are some contract signing pens. These are the kind of pens that lock people in for 5 years.
Sometimes 6. The first patent for the ballpoint pen was on October 30th, 1888 by John J. Loud. His actions were louder than his words, because his words were on paper, because he used a pen. His main goal in creating the ballpoint pen was to write on rough surfaces like wood and leather. The fountain pen just wasn't capable of doing so.
Now, his version of the ballpoint pen accomplished what he set out for it to do. So it could write on wood, and it could write on leather, and stuff that was a little bit rougher. But it wasn't actually able to write letters. You couldn't just write on paper and, go about your day just like, oh, let me just sign this real quick. It was far too scratchy for that, and it just didn't write very well. Naturally, people didn't have as much of a demand for something that could only write on wood or leather. A lot of people were wanting something that they could write on paper with. So his patent expired, and it wasn't until the early 20th century that our current design was created.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. And it was cool because the main issues that they ran into was the ink was either too runny or it was too thick. So what they did is they took the type of ink that you would use for printing newspapers because it dried really quickly. And then they added stuff so that it would make it a little bit thicker so that it would roll on the ball, which is kind of cool. The ink, by far, was the trickiest part of the ballpoint pen, and it took many, many, many attempts to get it proper. But nowadays, millions of pens are manufactured and sold every day, and we rarely have them even get gunked up and they don't write or anything. So it's very nice. We live a very privileged lifestyle.
If your pen goes dry, you probably let the cap off.
If your pen goes dry, your letter goes awry.
And that leads us into
Today in History. In 1935, Alcoholics Anonymous was founded by Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob Smith in Ohio. They created the 12-step program of spiritual and character development and can be seen as the first organization to transcend the barriers of medicine and religion when it comes to recovery.
By the end of 1940, membership grew to 2,000 individuals. And by the end of the next year, there were 6,000 members across US and Canada.
AA had arguably the best year in terms of growth and development in 1950. They reached 100,000 members worldwide. That is a lot of people.
That's just 6 years.
The fellowship held its first international convention in Cleveland, Ohio. The 12-step program, or the 12 traditions that we know today, were officially accepted as the foundation of Alcoholics Anonymous from all the way back then until now.
At their first international conference, Dr. Bob Smith was the one to push forward the fact that everything needed to stay simple. Simple, simple. So they started with the 12 steps, and they stuck with it. And that was actually the last conference that he was a part of, because he died later that very year.
Also, a lot of organizations use the 12-step program and then created their own variation of it, using that as kind of their template because they thought it was a good idea.
Since then, The organization has gone global and has held World Service meetings in at least 9 countries since 1969. There are 114,000 groups in approximately 170 countries, and membership has reached over 2 million people around the world today.
Man, that's awesome.
That is awesome. However, all that being said, even though millions of people claim to have been helped by Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12-step program, there are a plethora of skeptics out there from a variety of fields who do not believe that the program is a valid means of recovery at all.
I would really enjoy looking at some statistics of the percentage of people that were able to stop consuming alcohol as an addiction and tying that to Alcoholics Anonymous, or just doing it on their own accord. I don't believe that there's any studies that have been done outside of Alcoholics Anonymous saying they have this many people that were successful. With that being said, a lot of people are kind of skeptical because of that fact alone. Now it is time for one of my favorite holidays, since I am a Southern man at heart. Today is National Iced Tea Day. Oh boy, I love this one. The earliest printed recipes for iced tea were found in cookbooks from the 1870s. Iced tea first appeared in the US during the 1860s, but it was as a novelty item. So it wasn't necessarily in every household at that point, but you did start to see that becoming more widespread around the 1870s. So it only took about 10 years for it to go from being something that was just, oh, you know, fancy people have it and it's just something that you get, to it was found in many homes. In the 1870s, you started to see iced tea becoming more of a common thing. You would see it appear on hotel menus and also in railroad stations. Now, for anybody that lives in the Southeast, you already know this and you don't need any clarification. But when it comes to iced tea, naturally, it is sweetened. In the rest of the world, they can do what they would like, but in the Southeast, it is sweetened. If you say, give me some iced tea, it will come likened to syrup.
Exhibit A.
Yes.
Or Exhibit S for sweet.
If you make a gallon of sweet tea, and it doesn't have at least 1.5 cups of sugar in it, you're not drinking it properly.
I, on the other hand, while I do appreciate sweet tea, especially when this one makes it, I like to expand my sweet tea horizons. We once went to a Thai restaurant that served a black rooibos tea with half and half. And it was also sweetened. And so I have that this one also makes, and he makes it a lot better than they did.
It's pretty interesting because whenever you're making this tea, it does require a lot of the rooibos tea. I also do a little bit of vanilla whenever I'm boiling the tea and steeping it as well. And for this one, I also added a tiny pinch of cocoa, which is nice. And it just kind of brings out the sweet kind of vanilla-y taste that's already in the rooibos.
He drinks Southern sweet tea by the gallon. I can drink this stuff by the gallon. There's something about it, even though it's got the half and half in it, it's refreshing and it's crisp. There's nothing like it.
So, we hope that today you guys go out and enjoy yourself some iced tea. Whether it be a creamy iced beverage that some people would call tea, or iced tea.
And write your pen pal a letter, or just write anything. Maybe you've got some things that need writing. Grab a ballpoint pen on this day.
Today of all days.
Today of all days. And we'll see you on Monday.
До свидания.